Hello there. I'm Sean B.W. Parker for Empowering the Innocent, and we're here talking today with Ava Vidal, who's a journalist and comedian, who I saw speaking at the Empowering the Innocent 2 conference recently. And she has a very interesting story about false allegations, quite a complicated one you might not expect, which we'll get into, started a few years ago. And without further ado, hello, Ava. Nice to have you on here.
Hi, nice to see you again.
Good stuff. Right. This would you like to give us a brief overview of what happened? Anything that I can sort of tease out, I'll start to.
Yeah, sure. It was a woman who it was during COVID and we were out, we were breaking lockdown rules, and it was a woman who made a claim against a guy and said that this guy had raped her, and then said that I was a witness, to which I said I was not. And yeah, the story started with oh, no, you were asleep in the bedroom when this happened. You were asleep in the room, sorry, not the bedroom. You were asleep in the room. And she said she couldn't cry out to me because the guy was strangling her. And yeah, it just all got very bizarre. She texted me the next day and she said she listed a host of injuries she had. And I just didn't know what she was talking about. And I had at first obviously assumed, oh God, what happened to you on the way home? What happened with the Uber driver? Something bad must have happened. And then a couple of days later, got to find out she was accusing this guy. I said, whoa, no, that's not happening. And then after that, she turned her attention to me, really. And it ended up, she was just harassing me and writing to friends of mine, calling me a rape apologist, calling me, a handmaiden for misogyny, all sorts of things, which, if you know my reputation, is the funniest thing. It was just a very interesting thing to be called me.
Okay.
So it got to the
This guy, you didn't know him very well, or did you know him at all?
I've met him. He'd been at Go that night. And we'd gone back to a guy's house who he knew. But the funny thing, we didn't even travel together. It was like back in the day, I used to still drink back then. So we'd be drinking the show, drinking before the show, drinking after the show. We ended up all getting separated. 3 different carloads of people went back to this guy's house. I ended up going back a good hour after this woman had arrived there. And at one point, she was even suggesting that drugs. So I was like, we drugged her and let her go. What's she on about? No one drugged this woman. And she carried on with the drugging story. It got to the point where she was completely fixated on me. And she started to write to my deceased daughter's school, which she left, in 2009. She started to speak with my ex-partner, who I had legal wranglings with at the time. She started to openly speak to him on Twitter, which is like, why are you doing that? You're doing it for me to see. You're doing it to harass me because the DMs exist, emails exist. You claim that you got into contact with him in January 2021. That's what he told the court. You started to openly collude with him in May 2021. Why the need to go public if you're not harassing someone? She was writing to my friends. She was writing to my workplaces. And when I finally said to the police, look, she's posting pictures of my deceased child, the police then stepped in, and it was 7 months later, May 2021, she then said, I've just remembered Ava was part of, I suspect Ava was involved in my attack. Now, you've already told a story where you said I was asleep. And so how do you drag me into this now? All of a sudden, how did I go from asleep to awake to attacking you? So what she actually told the police was she didn't see me, but she heard my bracelets jangling. Well, I don't wear bracelets. Okay. So you're talking rubbish. And I said, I don't wear bracelets. I only wear rings. Which was interesting because later on, when I took out a civil case against her, because after complaining to the police, going, listen, stop this. She's going online saying all these injuries. So by the time she went online, she had changed it from the guy did it all to me and this guy would take it in turn strangling her and we, you know, like we were BDSM experts, and we knew how much pressure to not kill it, loads and loads of crap that would scare a guy, but not me.
Indeed. So it would appear, I'm sure a lot of kind of observers watching this now, is that you infuriated this woman by not
Yeah,
supporting. And so she
yeah,
recognized that fury against you. Is that
yeah,
correct?
absolutely. Because even up to this day, she's continued doing it after the civil case. Where's the guy in this? Not that I want her to bother him, because, you know, he doesn't deserve it. But if you are saying, you know, she tried to say in civil court, I don't know who the guy is. Don't be stupid.
Hmm.
Don't be silly. You can't have a man arrested for rape and the police release him with no further action. And then you go, hey, what happened to that guy? Oh, we released him. You didn't think to ask me to identify him. I had to identify him because I didn't know him. It was like, is this the guy that was there that night? Do you see what I'm saying? Why would they not ask you the same question? It's ridiculous. It's just because this person, I just don't like the way the person conducts himself. But if you want to just talk about this person in the abstract, you say a lot of things like, oh, women never lie. Women don't lie. Where did you get that information from? And sort of what this person was doing was they were going online saying these dreadful things were happening to them. She's this certain barrister involved, and I had a sort of, you know, difference in opinion from this barrister. And the first thing this barrister did was go online, post a picture of them together and go, she's my hero. She defends women. Well, actually, she doesn't defend women. With what she's done, she's actually caused a lot of problems, future problems for genuine rape victims. And also on top of that, I've written to your chambers. And I've written to your chambers and I've said, can you stop commenting on this online? Because there is an ongoing civil case. You are supposed to be King's Counsel. You are supposed to be somebody who upholds the law. Therefore, I'm not asking you to believe me. I couldn't give a thing if you believe me or not. I don't care about you. But at the end of the day, what you're not going to do is you are not going to distract from the legal procedure. And that's the complaint that I have.
Yeah. Wow, it's fascinating stuff. There are certain barristers in the world, and I think we'll have edited that out by now, but who will just use social media in the way that your complainant appears to have used it, which is post-law in a way. It's like your person there has got an injunction against her not to talk about you, basically, and has completely flouted it and ignored it. And certain barristers are known to have done that too, and go along like cavalier saviors of womanhood.
Yeah,
Basically.
like it's the most ridiculous thing I've seen. How can you make a blanket statement? I've seen these blanket statement made. Women don't lie. That's one of them. Another blanket statement, false accusations don't ruin lives, don't they? Because I come from a community where they surely have ruined lives.
Yeah.
You know, what are you talking about? I bumped into Winston Silcott in the middle of this at a display called War in a Babylon by Stafford Scott, and it was about the history of Black policing of Black people in this country, and Winston Silcott was there. And I know the lawyer who represented him anyway, because later on she represented me for partly something to do with this, where I was getting accused of putting up sock accounts and stuff like that. And the police came to my door, they took all my devices and they downloaded, and I hired that lawyer. And the police said she hasn't actually. She hasn't got any. The only account she's got are it's constant lies. So I'm trying to be careful now. I mean, you would know this yourself, that when somebody has done something like that, for me personally, with adversities in my life, I'm like, okay, this has happened to me. I'm not going to cry about it. I'm not going to let it take over my entire life. What can I do? I remember the words of my lawyer at the police station who told me, use your voice, use your position. When this is over, I am in the police station 2 or 3 times a week because of women like this. Please, he said, I'm imploring you, please do something. So as soon as I was able to, that's what I did. And that's how we met.
Wow. Yeah. It's you're artist, you're a comedian and a journalist and things like that, probably into the arts. I am very much. You see,
Yeah,
my thing before I got involved in
yeah,
football, and I would just like smash them together for fun.
yeah.
People get might be they might say because you treat it in an absurd way and you put it in a soft way and you mock her voice and stuff when you give talk, because you're a comedian and you kind of
Yeah.
process things that way cathartically in a way that Ricky Gervais might sort of process life cathartically in his way. And people
Right.
it's on people's nerves, doesn't it?
It what?
It gets on people's nerves, doesn't it? The fact that
It can do, but I'm going to, like you said, I'm going to process in whatever way I can. And I mock her voice because I'm not just mocking her voice. I am shining a light on something, which is the way she infantilizes herself like a child. You are not a child. You are in your late 40s. You have 3 children. You are not sweet and innocent at all, the way that you make out. So yeah, I probably do a more exaggerated version, but that is how you present yourself. We are women. We are not helpless. We are not choiceless. We have to also, be responsible for our own behavior on that night with a man who was way younger than us. Do you know what I mean? So
really,
I didn't even know that because dude looks old, but he was 28 years old. He's 28 years old. We are 2 grown women. Let's not sit here and pretend that this guy could be running over us. It doesn't work like that. Do you know what I mean? I believe, that's why I'm very much against very big age gap relationships. Don't want to offend anyone, please don't write to me. Because I believe that you are at certain stages in life, you have certain different experiences. I don't date 28-year-old guys. Go and live your life. Do you know what I mean? Go and have some fun, find your own experiences. What the hell do you want to be with an old lady like me for? No, come on now, be fair to people,
um, the victimhood viral or victimhood culture is like all over your story, isn't it? With
Yeah.
and it's certainly what you're doing is saying I'm not having that narrative. I'm not living like that, and you're not supposed to do that, Ava. Haven't you been told you're not supposed to do that by the culture wars?
I do a lot of things that I'm not supposed to do. I mean, I think the culture wars, I think a lot of it is very instigated. I think, like, who was talking about trans people 10 years ago? Nobody was. Do you know what I mean? Nobody was. Nobody cared. We had Haley Cropper, and that was as far as we went with all of that. I just think there's a lot of stuff being stoked. I think there is a lot of division that is being made that is unnecessary. I mean, like my friend, I had 2 male friends with me at the conference. I mean, you've connected with one of my friends on social media. On paper, we should not be friends. Do you know what I mean? And, but we get on really, really well. He's a really, really good friend of mine. And, I realized, particularly after my daughter's death and stuff, who was helping me? The Mail on Sunday were helping me. The Guardian went missing. They weren't helping me. I think it's very easy to say, I don't like this person on paper. I'm not supposed to like this person. I don't like this. I don't like that. When actually, if you met, and I don't think social media, especially not ones with short form like Twitter, give you the space to speak together as you could in person. I think social media has got a lot to answer for. I think it had its place, and now I want it banned.
Do you? Do you really?
No.
No,
Not completely. Not completely, but I think we've jumped the shark with Twitter. I was on the Ian Dale show the other day, and I said there's this famous sort of thing on Twitter where it's got to the point of stupid now, where you could say on Twitter, "Oh, I love pancakes," and someone will go, "What? Why? What?" And you're like, "Whoa, who said that?" It gets to the point now. If you want to pick apart every single thing I say, then do it. I'm not going to argue with you. And as I always say, sometimes just let people be wrong about you.
Well, indeed. And very clever people like Mr. Musk and beyond have worked out that the more people say, I can't believe you said you like pancakes, you bitch, you can actually turn that into an industry in itself. And it feeds into the negativity.
Yeah.
Actually brings the creator more money.
And the politicians have figured it out as well. You know what I mean? We're all arguing about stuff, and inflation's gone up 3.5% today. You know what I mean? And what are we all arguing about? Well, silly things.
Indeed, quite. That's the meta-analysis of the whole thing. I had one more question about before we wrap up quickly, but one more question about the complainant, that the stalker complainant, whatever the hell you want to call her. And by the way, I want to point out from Empowering the Innocent that I'm sure Dr. Michael would say we're perfectly happy to go and talk to that complainant in order for the balance that the brilliant Dr. Hines gave the whole subject recently. But, you know, we just do that professionally and we're open-minded people. However, did you know that she was of this apparently obsessive nature before you met her and before that evening?
Well, no, I didn't. And what's funny is I had a stalker when I met her, and the stalker pretty much did what she did. And I was going, look at this woman's talking about my deceased. And she goes, oh, how dare she speak about your deceased child? And it's very interesting when I read back on it now, because you've got to understand, I was in a very, very different place. I had a lot going on. I was going through what people deem as the worst thing ever that a person could go through. And I've got this other crazy person, and she goes, oh, it's about control. It's about, because you won't let her in your life. She wants to still control you. She wants to maintain control. And now I look back at it, and this is part of the thing that I told the court. She knows what she's doing, you know. I'm sure she won't, you know, you could offer to speak to her, I'm sure. But what I find really interesting is just the distracting tactics, you know. You'll ask a question like, where is your recording from the ISVA? And it comes into a launch of personal attacks, a launch of speculation. When you actually try to pin her down, independent support victim advocate that you would take a sexual assault rape victim would take to the police with them. You know what I mean? So she's claiming this person made this recording of the police saying most women are liars. And that's huge evidence. Why are you not answering the question? Why are you attacking me personally? Why are you, you know, deciding what kind, you know, I don't bother with it. It's a lot of, you have to understand when somebody is wasting your time, and wasting your time is part of the harassment as well. It's to get you, to distract you, to keep you arguing. And it's like, you want this contact with me and I'm not allowing it. I'm just not having it.
Absolutely. And hats off to that. And the problem is that technique that she's doing, and many other people are doing to various high profile people, is a new story in itself, which is what we're exposing here. You know, we're talking about the allegations have gone to this bizarre online place of trying to power grab each other, because there are the accused who will do the same when they're guilty, you know. So it's a horrible thing for the police to unpack. But as that policeman said to you, please go and talk about this to save us some bloody work, you know.
The lawyer. But it's also the case of just, you could go to the newspapers and say, you know, I reported these two people at the same time. No, up until this time, you have never been able to explain adequately why there was a 7-month gap between the two reports. And you could actually see the screenshots from the police. Hey, thank you for the emails. Thank you for the screenshots. We went and we put this to her. And now she is saying she said something about your suspected involvement. And you have to understand also, I was never arrested for this. The police said, do you want to come for an interview? It will be under caution. It's a voluntary interview. I said, yeah, sure. At the end of the interview, it was over. So you don't get the right to now call me a rapist, constantly refer my rapist, my assailant, my perpetrator. I have nothing to do with you. And it's simply that whole barrister's mode of thought. Because you said so, it doesn't make it true. It is not true. And the newspapers had no right to say all through the rape investigation, one of the rapists, which had to be me, because remember at this point, she's pretending she doesn't know who the guy is, stalked and harassed her and sent her threats. Where are they? I took you to civil court. The judge said, you can make a counterclaim against the claimant, against the applicant. When by this date, there was no counterclaim because none of these things have happened. And, you know, you put out these tweets which are just grasping at straws. Where's this? You know, she go, I've had 3 years of harassment and swearing. From who? I don't talk to you. I don't like you. And don't forget that most of this point, I was silenced by the court. And unlike you, I obeyed the court order. I was told I wasn't allowed to call her a stalker. I wasn't allowed to call her a sexual harasser, which I do call her, because when you make up sexual contact, graphic sexual contact with somebody, that is humiliating and degrading, and you claim that, you, to me, you are a harasser and you are a sexual harasser. And if this was a man doing this to me, we would know exactly what to call it. But because it's a woman doing it to me, everyone's like, oh, what do I say? I can't say that. I can't. Yeah, you can. And if you can't, I will. Liar.
Wow. Ava, so that you, you are a 2025 exemplar of perfect culture right now. So, thank you very much for all this. Absolutely fascinating story of intersectional absurdity, or whatever it is. We're all going to watch what's next after this, I'm sure, from the Empowering the Innocent sphere. So,
yeah.
Thank you so much.
Right,
and hope to see you at ETI 3 next year with a bit of luck.
All right, then. Thank you for talking to me.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.